Well, Bama Nation can take a collective sigh of relief. We got Mercer off our back. I know everybody was really worried about that one, especially Coach Saban. These always upset Coach Saban, these games, and they upset me too. I don't understand why we have to play these silly, pointless games that aren't even really games. I mean, isn't there another way that we can get money to these schools? I mean, can't we do a GoFundMe or something other than having to go through this crap every year, other than last year, of course? And I think last year, the fact that Alabama didn't have to deal with this crap is one of the reasons they had such a great season. They just geared up for SEC school after SEC school and didn't get this like just total momentum killer. You just any momentum that a program has gets ripped right underneath them when they have to play these stinking Division One AA FCS schools. And I mean, even the non-Power Five conference schools, when you're at Alabama's level, are absolutely pointless. And it's just there's got to be another way to get money to these schools instead of putting our elite athletes through this. I mean, Will Anderson almost got hurt. He did get hurt. Almost got hurt bad enough to miss games because he was playing against Mercer. I mean, I can't think of a worse tragedy than to lose an elite player in a game like that. Anyway, it's over, and we get to focus our attention to the Florida Gators, and it's going to be rough, I think. I don't know. The Miami game kind of indicated to us that it's going to be business as usual, and we're going to be a really good elite program. But you know, we're at a level now where it is definitely national championship or bust, and I think it's personally. I mean, I think it should even be higher than that. I think it should be undefeated or bust at this point. If you're Alabama, that's what we want. We want undefeated, unblemished seasons. We want unprecedented winning streaks, unprecedented championship streaks. We want it all. And Florida's the kind of team that can derail certainly undefeated aspirations. They've got the offense, and Dan Mullen's definitely got the knowledge and the skill set to come in there and give us fits if he's got the right set of guys. And Alabama's defense should be good enough to hold them off enough to let Bryce Wilson and the boys work their magic. But, our running game is not where I like to see it, and I'm afraid that if Florida can make Bryce uncomfortable, which they probably, it's a safe bet that they're going to be able to make him more uncomfortable than Miami was able to make him. And if Brian Robinson and the boys can't bail him out, then things could, easily get hairy in a game like this in the swamp. I mean, it's a tough place to play for any team, horrible environment. They're going to be jacked up because they haven't had a big game to cheer about in over 2 years now. So it's going to be a raucous swamp environment, and I just don't be surprised if we come out of there with an L. That's for sure. That wouldn't be a surprise at all. I feel like Florida's probably, in my mind right now, they're definitely the number one contender in the East. Georgia and Clemson, I don't understand why the national media is just glossing over the fact that neither one of those teams could muster an offensive touchdown against each other. Their defenses are great, but they're not that great, and you just know that they're going to run in teams with goals at their level, which is similar to Alabama's level. You can't expect to get what you want if you can't score a whole bunch of points these days and control the game with your offense and keep those other defenses off the field, and they better not be coming back on the field until you've put some more points on the board. I mean, that's just the way it is these days, and I feel like Georgia will be getting exposed eventually. Probably not this week, but they're gonna get their comeuppance if JT Daniels cannot be the guy that Kirby Smart needs him to be, and if those receivers that they've got injured that I keep hearing that are going to come back and totally change everything, and they're going to be a new look, totally different looking offense when they get their guys off the injured list, and we'll see about that. I see a team that looks very similar to that 2019 that we were all terrified of because we were kind of at that point, I certainly was still in the mindset that, your elite defense is probably what you want more than anything. And I felt like Georgia that year had a better defense than Alabama's, and that once LSU ran into them, they'd finally run into the brick wall that ended that little dream season for them. But it was just the other way around because we're in a different era of football, and offenses control games and win championships now. So that's what happened in that SEC championship game, and it may take that long before Georgia gets exposed this year, or it may take longer. But it's going to be a miracle if they can win a national championship, unless JT Daniels can start looking way better than JT Daniels very soon. Because Stetson Bennett, I mean, it was cute. Stedman Bennett, whatever his silly name is, was real cute with his touchdown passes against UAB, and I'm sure everybody got excited about that at Georgia. Oh, great backup, but you saw how quickly he ran out of juice against Alabama last year. And just don't expect any great things from him, certainly. And JT Daniels is kind of starting to look like Jake Fromm 2.0 to me. A good quarterback, but once he's up against a great quarterback, he's going to fold pretty quickly and easily. Anyway, in the rest of the world, we still got some contenders out there playing. Oregon, Ohio State was the big one this week. Oregon, Ohio State. Oregon looked great. They didn't even have their two best defensive players. I don't know about the other guy, but I do know that Thibodeau is an absolute monster. He's one of those kind of edge rushers that come around, every once in a while that can totally take a game over by himself. And I saw him do it last year. And the fact that they were able to pull off a pretty easy victory. I mean, I know it was only 7 points, but Ohio State their fan base was terrified the entire game, I can guarantee you that, and they never felt like they were going to win the ball game, and they didn't. And they're fine, in my opinion, as far as playoff hopes. I think they're still in a way better shape than Clemson is for a lot of reasons. First of all, they have an offense that can score points, and secondly, they got a way better conference, way better chance at in catching up on that resume before the year's over with, even though they fell further than Clemson did, and people are going to definitely see this as a worse loss than Georgia losing to Clemson. I don't, because I think Oregon is legit, and I think they better be worried over there in the Pac-12. I know people are high on Kelly and UCLA because of what they did to the Gorilla, but it's like I said before, I think a lot of teams are going to do that to the Gorilla this year, and probably a lot worse, so jury's still out on UCLA for me. Legit contenders right now: Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson still. I'm going to put Florida in there, obviously, and Alabama. And I don't feel like I want to put anybody else on that list right now. In the West of the SEC, I think the legitimate contenders that concern me would be, right now, Auburn and Ole Miss. Auburn, just because when they've got a pulse and we've got to play them in Jordan-Hare, which we do this year, it's always tough. I mean, when's the last time Alabama beat an Auburn team that actually had a pulse in Jordan-Hare? It's been a long time. Maybe even 2001. The last time Alabama beat an Auburn team that was good enough to feel like they could compete with Alabama. I know they did compete with them in 2009, but that team had no business competing with that Alabama team that day. Anyway, that was just a bad day for Alabama, and they still managed to pull out the win, but they should have won by a whole bunch more, in my opinion. Of course, they should always win by a whole lot more, in my opinion, I suppose. Well, let's go down and see what happened in the rest of the league. Auburn, like I said, they are looking good to me. It's, 16 50-point wins and giving up virtually no points. That's impressive no matter who you're playing against, as far as I'm concerned. And I really like their chances going into Happy Valley. We'll get to that hopefully a little bit later. South Carolina, East Carolina, 2-0 for the Beamer kid. I'm happy for him. And I know that South Carolina is. Pittsburgh, Tennessee. Tennessee, I know your fans are, you Vol fans are heartbroken over that, but you shouldn't be. You should be encouraged by what you're seeing, because I think Tennessee hanging for 4 quarters with any Power 5 conference team right now is a bonus for you guys. And I like what I'm seeing from Heupel so far. And I would like to see Tennessee at least get to the point where they think that they have a chance to beat Alabama, because I do not want to see the third Saturday in October just completely die and go by the wayside because Tennessee dies and goes by the wayside. I'm okay with them never beating us ever again, but I at least want them to feel like they have a chance so that it's still fun. I mean, it's pathetic if we just know we're going to go pound them every year like we do. Florida over South Florida, I already talked about them and my concerns, and I think they're definitely my favorite in the East right now. UAB, Georgia, we spoke about that a little bit. That was pretty predictable. I guess throwing for as many touchdowns as Bennett did was a surprise, and I'll go ahead and give it to him. Congratulations, because UAB is no total slouch. A 56-7 win over UAB is impressive in my book, and good for Georgia. And they needed to show that they had a little bit of juice against anybody with that offense. Texas A&M over Colorado, the sleeping giant. I hear it every year that they're waiting to get up, but I just don't buy it yet. To me, like I said earlier, Ole Miss and Auburn are the only teams that concern me in the West right now. I'll go ahead and say that. Alabama, we obviously beat Mercer. Arkansas, no. They're getting close to making me concerned about them. And kudos to Arkansas. And I said in one of my videos last week that I felt like this was an up-and-coming team and like Sam Pittman really had something going. And obviously that seems to be the case. But let's not get too excited because Texas, they're Texas still. They're not really... a victory over them is not an announcement that you're ready to compete with Alabama and other teams for championships or anything like that. Mississippi State and the Mike Leachers out there, they're going to be a mystery. They'll probably be a mystery all year just because Leach is a mystery. You can't... that's a guy that you can't predict, and I'm not even going to try. But I do like what I'm seeing out of Starkville. And I feel like if they don't go to a bowl game at least this year, that'll be a pretty big disappointment for Leach and all of the Stark Vegas fans out there. Missouri and Kentucky. Kentucky is always one of those teams that you're just waiting for that one year where everything clicks, and maybe this could be that year. They've competed deep into October, maybe even early November a few times in the last couple of decades, which is impressive for a Kentucky football program, and they don't seem to be certainly losing any traction to me, and I believe that things could work out for them. It's going to be tough to get past both Georgia and Florida, but I wouldn't be surprised if they knocked off one of those teams. Ole Miss, Austin Peay, who cares about that? But what we haven't spoken about yet was that Louisville game, and that's why I feel like they're a legit contender for at least the SEC West. Because that offense is legit, that's for real, and their defense looked like a completely 180 to me, and that's huge. And Lane Kiffin knows what it takes. He's no dummy. But you know who is? Ed Orgeron. And I know he's excited about that victory over his son and letting him get a touchdown pass and all that kind of stuff. But, they're playing Central Michigan. Don't be surprised if they struggle with Central Michigan. I don't even know what their mascot is, and why should I? And Vanderbilt beat Colorado State. Holy moly, how bad must Colorado State be this year? That's pretty sad. Anywho, maybe I'll talk to you guys sometime later this week, and we'll do some predictions. I feel like I want to do some predictions before this upcoming week, and we'll talk about those games and a whole lot more.